Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am super excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 98. I hope your guys' February is off to an amazing start. I know it has been extremely cold where I live right now, so I've just been enjoying as much time inside as possible, drinking nice warm coffee, hot chocolate, whatever, but also remembering the importance of getting outside and getting into the sunshine. So I hope you guys are having a great February. Just know the days are getting longer. We are getting through this. I know the winter can be really, really hard to get through. I've been feeling all the feels of dealing with not having as much sunlight, the days feeling really short, and also feeling like time is just kind of escaping us. It seems like when I reflect back, it was just Halloween and then it was just summer, and now here we are in February just trickling our way through 2023. But nonetheless, I hope you are all doing well. If this is your first time tuning into Rewire to Inspire, welcome. I am so happy to have you here, and if you are tuning back in, welcome back. So excited to have you here as we jump into today's content. Today's episode is one that I'm pumped about, as always. I feel like I always say the same thing, but I'm always just so excited to talk to you guys and pour from my experiences and just things that I've been feeling. And this is definitely one that I've kind of just got over a hump of, and so I knew I wanted to share about. And so today's topic is, are the things on the back of your mind really on the back of your mind? And what I mean by that is, are those little stressors or to-dos or things that, we kind of push down and we push to the back of our mind, are they actually there, or are they actually controlling our consciousness and our everyday actions more than we think they are? And so oftentimes when, we're overwhelmed with life, or we have too many things on our plate, or we have too much to do, or there's things out of our control, we can kind of subconsciously want to push it to the back of our mind, meaning I'll tend to it later, I'll do it later, I'll, X, Y, and Z, and we kind of push it to the side. And we often go about our day without realizing how that's actually impacting us and how those things do impact us. Because if we have things that are just in our subconscious mind that are kind of waiting for us and we don't have a plan or a reason to execute that thing, it is going to be playing over and over again in the back of our mind and our subconscious, whether we realize it or like it. It's just how our brain works. It holds on to those things. And we're not often consciously aware of it. So we can think that it's not bothering us or not affecting us, but it typically is. So I encourage you right now to think of a time that, you've ever pushed something aside or said you'll do it later, and it kind of eats away at you. Just a small example is on a daily basis, saying, I'm going to work out today. And then all throughout the day, you'll get these like little alerts almost in your head of, is it time to work out yet? Are we going to work out? Did we work out yet? And insert thing here that you find yourself dwelling on or contemplating or thinking about. But that's typically what happens. And that's because the back of our mind is saying, hey, we know this is urgent. We've brought awareness to it, but you're not, validating me. You're not doing this thing. And so I'm going to keep reminding you of this. And so the reason that this episode came up for me is because this happens to us all the time without us realizing it, and it's controlling and affecting our life and our mental health more than we realize. But B, because I have had something largely in my life that I didn't realize was controlling me to the extent that it was until I was able to get rid of the issue. So what I'm referring to is I have been in a chunk of debt I had been, I guess, for probably 3 years, I would say, of trying to chip away at this debt that I had accumulated. And it wasn't until like the last year or so that it's really been bothering me. And I knew that I was doing everything in my control, or so I thought, to kind of tend to this. And every day I was just waking up, and that was the first thought that was on my mind. And throughout the day, I would just feel the pressures of it. And I'd have a really big aversion to talking about money because it just stressed me out. And my mental health was definitely taking a hit. I was feeling lower. I was feeling more depressed. I just felt like there was a constant cloud over me all the time. And I didn't really realize until about a month ago, when I was able to finally get myself out of debt, of how much that was weighing on me. I didn't realize in my conscious mind how much subconsciously that debt was affecting me. Because in the back of my mind, I was going, okay, the interest is accumulating. This is what it's going to be. The amount we're paying over time. Okay, this means X, Y, and Z. That's, backtracking the progress of being able to buy a house and pay off things. And it was just subconsciously really, really manipulating my brain and taking up a lot of energy away from the things that were important. And so this really made me curious to kind of learn a little bit about our subconscious and our conscious, and kind of the difference between them, and how we can think things are on the back of our mind, but they're really not. And so basically what is interesting is that subconscious stress affects us very deeply. And the interesting thing is that really only 5% of our brain is conscious, meaning it's the action that you're doing right now in this moment. If you're listening to my voice right now, you are conscious of that. You are hearing me. You're hearing what I'm saying. If I say bring awareness to your arm, now you're conscious of that. But right now I'm going to say bring awareness to your foot. 2 seconds ago when I said bring awareness to your arm, your conscious mind wasn't thinking about your foot. So that's really what your conscious mind is. It's in the moment, in the present time, what you're thinking of, what you're doing. But because 95% of things are subconscious, meaning we don't have awareness of them, they can be eating away at us more than we realize. Because just because we're not thinking about it doesn't mean that there's not a part of our brain that's lit up saying, hey, we're thinking about this, we're stressing about this is impacting us. And so my goal of today is for you guys to leave and kind of be able to get honest with yourself of what are those things that are maybe weighing on your brain and on your consciousness and your subconsciousness more than you realize. And how can we bring those stressors to our prefrontal cortex, to our awareness, so we're able to make a plan to execute, so that we're able to lower that stress a little bit to benefit our mental health. Because again, I wasn't realizing the impact that this was having on me subconsciously. It was affecting my sleep. It was affecting my digestion. It was affecting my mood. It was affecting, my regulation of my nervous system. It was affecting my breath. It was affecting my concentration, my availability to be creative, because I was just so wrapped up and stressed around this thing that I didn't feel like I had control of. And that can really, really mess with ourselves. And the thing that's interesting is when we think about those stressors, the thing about it is we can't physically see them. If we're walking around our space and we see that it's a mess, we can see that and we can want to tend to that because it's right in front of us. But we can't really see the quote unquote mess, or I'm going to refer to as the mental weight that can really be affecting us in the back of our mind. And so it's so important that, we pause and we bring awareness to these things and validate that they are affecting us whether we realize it or not. I want you to think of that feeling you get after you've accomplished something that you've been dwelling on. And one example that I kept going back to that I think would land for a lot of us is writing exams or writing a paper. You're so stressed up to it, leading up to it. It eats away at you. You're losing sleep. You're just so worried about this thing. And then as soon as you hand that paper in, it's like instant, I can relax. I can breathe. It's not affecting me anymore. Like it's okay. It's out of my control. And that's exactly, what this is all about is how much of that weight are you carrying on your shoulders? Because each little subconscious to-do or stressor is weighing on us. It's that little voice in the back of our mind going, hey, like tend to me, listen to me, study this, pay off that, do this, do that. Oh, remember that thing? We got to do that thing. Oh, remember that, and we just get bounced all around. And that is on top of all the other things that we're dealing with in our everyday life as well. And so you can really see how things in our subconscious can really start to affect with us and we don't know why. We wake up or we go through periods of time where we don't know why something's bothering us. We don't know why we're feeling low energy. We don't know why we're feeling frustrated, irritated, etc. And it's often because something in our subconscious mind is bothering us. Something is either not being done, not being tended to, a conversation is not being had, a truth is not being spoken, a promise to yourself has been broken, etc., etc. And so I want us to recognize that the back of our mind controls us more than we realize, and it's so important we realize that so we can dip into that and tap into that. Ever since I kind of learned this concept, I've been asking myself when I start to feel a certain way, is this tapping into something into my subconscious that I've seen before, witnessed before, felt before? Have I witnessed somebody else experience this before, feel this before? And it's able to kind of give more clarity to break down a situation instead of just acting on impulse and just kind of reacting just to react. So for today, I kind of gathered some things that I think can be helpful to help with this mental weight and to help with things that are weighing on the back of your mind. And so I kind of already mentioned this, but the first thing that I encourage you to do is to write it all down. This can take a while to really write everything down, but writing everything down that could potentially be bothering you, and I'm talking all the way back to like childhood, everything that you can bring up in your conscious mind, write it down and have it in front of you. This could be things now in today's time that are also bothering you. Debt, taking a course, finishing that thing that you said you were going to do, cleaning up a space, having that conversation, applying to that job, getting through that to-do list. There's so many things, and this is going to be unique to each and every one of us. But dumping it out, write it down, make like the biggest list possible so that we're able to allow our brain to turn off for a second and say, hey, I got this. You don't have to worry so much. I have it all right here and I have control of it, right? So getting it out of our brain is one of the best things that we can do. I know exactly what it's like to not know where to turn, to feel alone, helpless, and stuck. My goal as a coach is to help clients from a trauma-informed perspective see your worth and develop self-belief so you may chase your dreams and trust your intuition to live the most aligned, fulfilling life possible. If you're looking to elevate your life to the next level but aren't sure where to start, I would absolutely love to connect. If you're feeling pulled or curious, please use the link in the show notes below to book your free call. I look forward to connecting and supporting you on your own unique journey. And that is why I absolutely love to journal in the morning, because I'm writing down just everything that I'm feeling, everything that's on my mind, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, whether it's bullet points, paragraphs, 6 pages, 1 sentence. It's the ability to get stuff out of our head and out of our body so our mind can switch to doing what it does best, which is maintain our body, look after itself, protect us. But our mind just gets so flustered that our body doesn't have the capability to really do both. It has to focus on one or the other. And oftentimes what happens is when we're so subconsciously overwhelmed and flooded with things, our physical body ends up taking a hit for that because our body's trying so hard to tend to this thing in our mind that our body almost becomes second. And yes, of course, we're still going to breathe. Our heart is still going to beat, etc. But our digestion will start to slow down. Our heart rate will start to increase. Our blood pressure will start to spike. All these things happen and we don't even realize that they're happening. Stress is one of the biggest detriments to the human body. And a lot of the stresses that we feel are subconscious. It's things that we've kind of put aside or suppressed or don't want to bring awareness to is another piece to it. Because if we don't want to bring awareness to something, that weight of that gets heavier and heavier and heavier. When we suppress things, I like to think of it like a hydraulic press. When we suppress and suppress and suppress, we're building pressure. And that pressure has to go somewhere. It's eventually going to burst. And we are no different with our emotions, with our feelings, with everything that we experience. That's why it's so important we get stuff out of our body so that we're not suppressing it so much. And our body doesn't have to carry that weight for us anymore. I always like to kind of view it for myself as, my body's doing all the stuff internally that it can do to look after me. It's my job on the outside to make sure I'm doing as many things as possible to make its life easier. Because we don't tell our heart to beat. We don't tell, our liver to process our food and our drinks. And we don't tell our stomach to break down food. We don't tell, the parts of our body to do what they need to do. They just do it. And I'm so grateful for that. And imagine if we can just shift our thinking into that of, hey, our body's kind of doing everything that it can. What can I do from my awareness and from my perspective to tackle some of these things so that my body's able to work a little bit better. We're able to be on the same page. And so I just think that that's a beautiful point that I've kind of brought into my consciousness in this last 2 weeks. And it's been so beautiful. Nourishing my body as best as possible, moving my body, getting outside, hydrating, talking to good people, filling my brain, just doing things that I know are good for me so that I'm able to work with my body instead of against it, which is exactly what stress does. It kind of works against us. And so after you've dumped it all out, you've wrote your list, you're kind of aware of it, I encourage you to categorize it. Put it into categories. Is this something from my past, from my present, from my future? Is this something that directly affects me, or does it also affect anybody else? Is this something I have immediate control of, or am I doing everything that I can? Really just lumping it up into categories. Then the next thing that I encourage you to do is to rate it by importance. What is the most important thing that is weighing on me? What is the thing that if I got this out of the way, all the other things would seem less impossible and less overwhelming? For me, that was the getting out of debt. I needed to get that out of the way so I can focus on saving, bring my awareness to other things, and just focus on day-to-day life. It was literally not allowing me to live an optimal, happy life because it was stressing me out so much. It was eating away at me. What are those things that are eating away at you that you want to tackle first? And then off of that, you might be sitting there going, Jessie, like, let's say it is debt. I have no way to get out of that. There are so many ways that we can just find even little ounces of control so that we're able to calm down our subconscious, making a plan, sitting down with a financial advisor, tracking everything that you're spending, maybe spending a little bit less on impulse buys, educating yourself on finances. There's so many things that we can do in our control to lower those stresses. It doesn't always mean taking away the problem right away. But if there is those little things, should it be having a hard conversation, doing something you've been putting off? What are some of those things that we can do a 1, 2, 3, go attack it to get it out of the way so we're able to pour into kind of some of those bigger things? So I encourage you to ask yourself, what is the most important thing that you can do? If it's out of your control, again, breaking it down. What can I do that's in my control? Tracking it. Ask yourself, are you doing everything in your control? If yes, keep going. 1% improvement, 1% improvement every single day. Having it wrote down and tracking it and bringing awareness to it allows our subconscious to take a break, again, because we're able to see that we have control of it in the physical world, so our mind doesn't have to think about it so much. Again, if not, if your answer is no, that you're not doing everything in your control, that is likely what's causing to further that stress and to increase that stress. Because if we know that we're dealing with something and we're not doing anything about it, that is when it starts to really weigh on us, because we wish that we would have done something. We wish we would have gone to the gym. We wish we would have done, X, Y, and Z, and we don't do it. And so it really starts to affect us. So if you're not doing everything in your control, know that it starts with you and only you. And if it involves somebody else, sometimes that comes down to having those conversations. But recognize that we hold 100% of the responsibility to do these things that are affecting us, even if that means doing things that are uncomfortable or hard for us, because we'll thank ourselves more for doing them than for not doing them. The next thing is to repeat and check in. Repeat the action, writing it down. This is like a never-ending practice. This isn't just something to do on a one-off time. How can we do this often so that we're not getting to those points of feeling, too overwhelmed? Of course, stress is going to ebb and flow in our life. We're going to have unexpected situations and circumstances that we're going to have to tend to. But I'm talking about those things that prolong and go on and on and on, and that are really affecting us and messing with us. And so how can we tend to those? So repeating them and check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I feeling a little bit better? Am I feeling worse? What can I do to shift this? And sometimes this does come down to getting professional support. If you're feeling too overwhelmed with doing those things, I would encourage you to see a professional therapist or counselor so that you're able to break this down and make a plan together. Know that you don't have to do it alone, and know that you're worthy to seek that help should you feel like that would be, valuable to you and would be helpful. So that is, really what I wanted to leave you guys with today, is to just realize that stress affects us on such a deep level. And I've done episodes all about stress and how it affects us, but subconscious stress can can really switch our nervous system into a state of overwhelm and to act out of our survival mechanisms, meaning we're not in our rest and digest state. We're in a state of overdrive. And again, when we feel that, we can have trouble sleeping, trouble concentrating, we can have digestive issues, we can have irritability and aggression, high blood pressure, depression, anxiety, relationship issues, low libido, just all these different things across the board can really be weighing on us. And we start to internalize that as, what is wrong with me? And why can't I feel happy? And why do I feel this way? And I encourage you to ask yourself is, do you think that there's things on your subconscious that you're not even recognizing? And you might be thinking like, Jessie, it's our subconscious. How am I supposed to realize that? Like, how am I supposed to know if something's affecting me if I'm not conscious of it? That is why pausing and taking time to just sit with your thoughts is huge. The thing, like I said, 5% of what we do is conscious, so meaning what we're doing. But if we're taking that mindful time to just sit and notice what comes up, our mind will often tell us. If we even ask ourselves the question, is anything weighing on my mind right now? Is there anything that I need to get doing that I'm not doing? It will likely tell you. I write a to-do list every single morning of things, and I don't even call it a to-do list. I say things that I'd like to accomplish that will make me feel good at the end of the day. And then on the side of that, I have things that I want to get done, but it's okay if they don't get done today. They're not super time crunched, but I would feel good if they get done. And so every day I'm able to check these boxes of these things that I need to do, so my mind's not constantly thinking about it. And so maybe that's where you're at. It's just on a day-to-day basis, getting to know what you need to do to make yourself feel as best as possible and allowing, again, your brain to turn off and do what it does best, which is to tend to ourselves, tend to our body, and to keep us safe. To recap, things on the back of your mind can affect us more than we think that they are. And that is why I wanted to do this episode, because I don't think that that's something that's, really talked about. So I encourage you to sit down with yourself. Again, if that is unsafe to do or you feel like that is too overwhelming, sit down with someone that you trust. Sit down with a family member, a therapist, someone that you feel safe to just be able to express and get things off your chest. Change starts with awareness. Awareness is always the first step to being able to change and pivot things. If we don't have the awareness that something is even affecting us, we're likely not going to take action. But if we're able to bring into our consciousness that something is affecting us, it makes us that much more likely to want to attack it, tend to it, and get it out of the way so we continue on with the next thing in our life. We can't control everything, but it's so empowering to realize that you do have control of some things. And sometimes that means just breaking it down and doing one little 1% thing over and over again. And sometimes that means just attacking it head on. So I hope that this gives you the permission, the love, the encouragement to get to know your subconscious, to get to know those things that weigh on you that you might not realize. Having hard conversations is hard. Tending to things that are stressful is hard. Having things out of our control is hard. But being able to just bring awareness to that and getting it out of our head is so empowering and allows you to just take a deeper breath and know that you're doing everything that you can. But we have to be willing to sit down and say, I'm doing everything I can versus I'm just going to suppress it and hope that it goes away. Because it often doesn't go away and it actually gets worse over time. And you're so deserving to be present, be in your body, be grounded, and live a life true to you. So thank you guys so much as always for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. If you're looking to connect with someone and you'd like to jump on the phone, I am offering free 30-minute Zoom sessions where we can dive exactly into that if you're feeling pulled to do so. We can chat about absolutely anything. My link to book is in the description below. I would love to connect with you all. Again, I am beginning my coaching journey. I am so thrilled, so excited to be working with such amazing individuals who are on a path to becoming the next best version of themselves. So all the love, you guys. Thank you all so much. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Brown 13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.